second.
You betcha. We're ready to go.
Hey, what up, Matt?
Hey, what's going on, Jay? How's it going, brother?
I'm good. Sorry I'm a little late. Things have been crazy with the phone calls. No one ever stays to the 10-minute, 15-minute mark.
I know.
I don't have I'm always into talking. So I'm saying is our conversation might be supposed to be 15 minutes, but it's going to go like 30, 40.
Oh, beautiful. Dude, I was going to say, I'm going to push it past my time anyway, too, so I'm going to be just the same as that dick this morning, and yeah, we're going to make sure we go over here. Thanks for taking some time with us today, man. This is awesome.
Thank you. How are things?
Oh, absolutely great. It's a little frigid up here. It's good you guys aren't doing a live show because you'd freeze your ass off up in Prince George right now, but yeah, things are good, brother.
Nice.
How about you guys?
I'm sure it's going to be cold. We're going to be in Toronto, so I think it'll be pretty cold there too at the time, right? But yeah, man, I'm glad that everyone will get to see it from all over. It's going to be something. To me, this is. I don't believe anyone has done this. I could be wrong, but I don't believe anyone's done this before. So I think it's pretty cool that we get to to explore the live show in Toronto where it streams. All over the U.S. and Canada, so that's going to be cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty unbelievable idea, actually. I was just reading up on it a little bit this morning, and we'll get into that nice and deep into the interview here as well. That's what she said.
Nice.
All right, you ready for this, man?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Here we go. You've got it locked on Prince George's Real Rock 94X, and man, oh man, it's been a hell of a start to 2012. Now, in the first couple of weeks of 2012, we had Bret the Hitman Hart, the wrestler, here in town. We got to meet him, shake hands. He signed our Wall of Fame in the back. Then last week, Clay the Carpenter Guida, the UFC legend, was in town, and we had a chance to meet him as well. And now this week, the fun just keeps coming. We have a legend with us here on the air today, star of classic comedies such as Clerks, Mallrats, Clerks 2, Zack and Miri Make a Porno, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Chasing Amy, and my personal favorite, Dogma, and many, many others. Jason Mewes, ladies and gentlemen. Jay, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you very much. I feel like a weakling after you said that Bret the Hitman Hart and then the fighter was in there. I can't really fight, so I feel like the odd man out there. But I'm excited to be chatting.
Hey, well, let's be honest. Bret the Hitman Hart, he does a lot of acting anyway. That's not real fighting. So you guys are on the same level.
All right, there you have it. I could probably do some of the moves they do. I think if I just a little practice. So
absolutely. Well, welcome to the show, as I said, man. And you know what? I want to dive a little bit into your career today because you've got some huge fans up here in Prince George. I actually just made mention yesterday that I was chatting with you today, and our Facebook page lit up, our Twitter profile lit up as well. People are pumped to have you on the air, so I want to make sure we can get as much out of this as we can. All right.
All right, fabulous.
All right, man. Now, first of all, last night I sat down in preparation for our little chat here today, and I watched the stand-up Kevin Smith stuff that he did when you guys were traveling around to all the universities down in the States. Now, in that, Kevin said that he made up the Jay and Silent Bob characters completely based on watching you grow up. So what kind of shit did you guys get into that would spark an idea for characters like that? How did you guys meet, and how did Jay and Silent Bob come about?
Well, we met. We grew up down the street from one another, and we went to high school together. But he's like 4 years older, so he's a senior. I'm a freshman. We didn't really hang out then. The seniors don't want to hang out with the freshmen. So
yeah.
But afterwards, he got a job at a community center in our town that I used to go to after school every day. And a bunch of my buddies, we'd all go hang out there. We played. There was a foosball table, a pool table, volleyball. Tennis, all the different things you could do after school at the community center. And Kevin worked there, and a couple of our other friends we still hang out with, which is, tell them Steve Dave, which is Walt Flanagan, Brian Johnson. And they used to all work there and hang out and read comics and stuff in the corner. And I used to always come and harass them and be like, oh, man, I love comics, but I don't have any. Do you have any extra comics? And what are you reading and all that? And we sort of bonded over that. And we started talking about comics, and then they were going up to a show in New York, and there was a comic book store in Red Bank, and they would drive me there and take me with them and all that stuff. And then where we really bonded was he worked after the community center. He actually worked at the Quick Stop, which is in Clerks.
Right, yeah.
And Sunday morning, the Sunday morning paper, the Asbury Park Press, and a couple of the other papers are like 5 or 6 different sheets that you have to put together to make one big paper, and it was it was sort of a time-consuming process, and I was the only one that would get up at 5:30 in the morning and go with him to Leonardo and make these papers with him for like $10 and a bowl of cereal.
Right.
And so we'd go and we'd do the papers and eat cereal and watch Silver Spoons and Degrassi. And we sort of really got close from that, and then he said from that, hanging out at the community center and hanging out at the convenience store and going to comic book shows and all that my sense of humor was funny to him and our friends Brian and Walter.
Yeah.
And they just wondered if my obnoxious sense of humor and silliness other people would find entertaining. So he wrote the character Jay in the movie that he wrote, Clerks, and the Dante character is technically based off of him.
Yeah.
He would dated a girl and he had a problem, not to the T, but he sort of had a problem with the girl he was dating. She had sucked a few too many things and all that stuff. So sort of, he based all these characters on sort of real life friends and characters and yeah, man. So we did that, but I worked the whole time. After that, I was roofing.
Oh, crazy!
And I would go to roof. I would roof all day and go to the convenience store at night when they'd close, and we'd shoot Clerks. And then after Clerks was shot, Kevin and Scott Mosier went and did the film festival thing and all that, and I didn't know anything about it. I just went back to work, didn't think anything of it, and little did I know that it'd be bought by Miramax, and then Kevin would write me in the next, bunch of movies.
So that's how the legend started, right there.
And yeah, that's sort of how we started hanging out, and then getting going from there. Just hanging out and reading comics and playing hockey. We started playing hockeys on Sunday, which was another big thing we used to do.
Wicked, yeah.
We took the tennis net down at the community center. We built boards, hockey boards, like little 2-foot walls around the tennis court. We used to play rollerblade hockey every Saturday and Sunday, which was awesome.
Yeah.
So
that's wicked,
sort of
man.
It's sort of how it happened.
So the Clerks basically it's almost a documentary then, more than it is a straight-up comedy film.
Yeah, in a sense, some of the content and storylines and stuff, like, the one Randall character sort of similar, based sort of on a friend of ours who's, pretty similar to that. He worked there at the video store and the convenience store, and he used to feel the way Randall does about the customers, and, so yeah, there's a little piece of all the characters in the story that's really taken from, for all of us growing up and our friendship and our lives and what we, so it's pretty interesting to see. I just watched a movie the other day. My buddy does this Sunday movie tweet along, SMTA he calls it on Twitter, and it's cool because he tells everyone at the same time, 8 o'clock we're going to watch Clerks, or we're going to watch this or that, and everyone sits and watches the movie and then comments and stuff.
Oh,
and
wicked,
he asked
wicked.
me it was pretty cool, and he asked me if I'd watch Clerks with him and say some stuff about, this part here I was this and that. And it's been years since I watched the movie, and it's really interesting to see, for me to go back almost 20 years ago we made that almost.
Yeah.
So for me to go back and watch that and remember like shooting it and seeing it, and it sort of brought a little tear to my eye. It's I'm pretty blessed to be here still 20 years later, and we're still still working and still hanging together and still doing our thing. So
No, it's a wicked story from top to bottom, man. One thing I wanted to mention, too, Kevin Smith, in his stand-up stuff that he did at all these different universities down in the States, he commented on your, now, this sounds kind of cruel, but he said your unreliable acting and how he often had to pinch you to coax you into doing your lines because you forgot them. In fact, he said, and I quote on this one, he said your acting was one step above putting his hand up your butt and using you as a puppet. Harsh words, right? Now, do you have any stories of shame of Kevin on the set that maybe you'd like to share in retaliation for his comments?
Well, I guess there is the one story of on Chasing Amy is a good example. He he was that night that we shot. We were only in that one scene. It was like a couple hours shoot, but it was late at night. It was like midnight. They've been shooting all day, and I didn't know this at the time, but I found out later that he was telling the whole crew and everybody, "Hey man, bear with Jason. He's going to forget his lines, and we're going to have to keep doing shot after shot. You guys might be here for a while, so just be patient and bear with them."
Yeah.
So it comes up to the scene, and we do our first take, and I think I fumbled the first line, but then we do the second take. Bang, I bang through it. It comes up to Kevin's part where he says his whole speech about chasing Amy. I wanted to be a dancer, and that whole thing.
Yeah.
Gets like 2 lines, 3 lines of dialogue out, and boom, he forgets. Second, we do take 2. I bust through all my lines, no problem. He comes up to his speech, bang, he forgets. Third time he forgets. Fourth time he forgets. All of a sudden, like 2 guys come up, they're like, "Hey, Kev, yeah, I guess we really have to watch Jason and be patient with him, huh?"
Yeah.
And then, and I didn't know what they were talking about, and then I asked, and he explained to me. He's like, "Look, sorry, but I told everyone that you were probably going to forget your lines and not be able to spit out this long monologue, but here I am messing up." So we did about probably 11 takes before he got through the whole thing. So there you have it. And same thing with Dogma. I'll say this, and this I shouldn't really say because I won't say the actor.
Right.
But Dogma, he's like, "Look, man, this ain't a joke. We have a few people working on this movie. Not that we didn't work with other people on other movies that were good, but he's like, there's some people that are going to be like, they're like real actors.
Chris
like,
Rock, yeah.
Yeah, like these guys don't joke around. Don't forget your lines." So I literally got nervous, and I was up in Pittsburgh for about a month before we were shooting, and I didn't have much to do. So I sat and read my script every day, and I literally probably learned about 90% of everybody's lines. Like I had almost the whole script memorized to heart, and because I got nervous. And then when we get up to the big dog on set, there was a guy. Again, I don't want to say because I wouldn't want to rat anybody out, but Kevin said, "Oh, you watch this person, he's the best." And not to say he isn't the best, he is.
Yeah.
But he told me to watch my dialogue. We get to the scene, our first scene with this guy, and he couldn't remember his lines, and he needed cue cards.
Oh, no.
So, yet again, Kevin, I think he just sort of softens the blow just in case, but he doesn't realize that. I think he's mainly, he sort of got put off because of Clerks 1. I do have to say, Clerks 1, I've never thought of acting or was acting or did any of that. Yeah, I was roofing and all that. And so even though the character is based off of my character and the stuff that was written was a lot of stuff I had said throughout the years of us being friends and things I did, dancing in front of the store, being silly and all that stuff, I had done that before, but I usually do it for my own entertainment.
Yeah.
So when it came time for them to be like, "Action!" and they put the camera in my face, I would freeze up and get nervous. So Clerks, I got really nervous all the time and would ask people we were inside and there was a bunch of people hanging out watching, I'd be like, "Kev, can you have everybody go outside?" And I'd have make people go outside unless they had to be there. I used to have to drink a couple beers to get a little
loosen up.
Before.
Yeah.
So anyway, but that's a bunch of little business right there.
Oh, for sure. Well, it seems like he treats you like a little brother. Like maybe he's almost trying to protect you a little bit. So, nobody's going to take an extra shot at you because you missed a line. Maybe he's trying to soften the blow on their side as well. There seems to be a real bond between you guys.
No, I definitely feel like that's what it is. Because again, I think it did happen on the first movie, but then he knew after Mallrats, he saw, that I could get through it and do it. And then from there on, he just sort of would say it all the time just to sort of, and I think you're correct. I think you're definitely right. And we do, it's always been sort of that relationship where, again, he's, it doesn't matter as much now when you're 35 or 39 or what have you. It doesn't really matter. But then, I was 14 and 15 and he was like 19.
Yeah.
So it's always been sort of like that older brother type of relationship. And he was always more responsible and, so anyway, but yeah, so we definitely have that relationship and I think it definitely is a big part of why our we've been able to hang out and work together and spend so much time together is we're so close. But I think because there's not that like ego and pride and all that stuff involved with everything, that we can get along. Because like my friend worked with a band the other day. He's like a sober living companion, and he went on this tour with this band to help one of the guys out who's sober now for like 3 months to stay on track. And he said that they would go up and sing and have an awesome concert, but then afterwards the singer would get off the stage and go right to his tour bus, and not talk to any of them because they didn't get along.
Right.
It's just interesting to me because you think like, oh my gosh, this band's been together for 15 years. You'd think they'd all be so close and friendly and all that, but then I think pride and ego gets in the way, and then they fight, and then bands that are super famous and making tons of money will stop making money and break up just because of of this or that ego and stuff.
Van Halen, we look at Van Halen, they're just coming back with the band, but the egos are still tearing that band apart. So absolutely, yeah. Exactly.
So it's very interesting. But yes, I think it definitely helps. It definitely is a big part, I feel, of why we can still work together and spend almost every day together, and we're still really close, is because there's no ego with us, and there's no there's none of that stuff getting in the way of one another. Like he could make comments like that, and I know it's for one reason or another. It's not malicious or hateful or anything.
Exactly. Yeah, he's joking around like a big brother.
Yes.
Perfect. Now, your stock as Jay and Silent Bob, the characters that Kevin created for you guys, it really is at an all-time high, even though you guys haven't been in a major movie since Clerks 2 back in 2006. Now, everyone knows who you are. Your fans beg for more appearances for your characters. How does it feel to have reached the iconic status of comedic legends like Cheech and Chong with your characters, Jay and Silent Bob?
I mean, it's definitely... It's definitely awesome. Again, it's been almost 20 years, and to me it just seems pretty surreal, and it's pretty crazy to me, because again, even after the first movie, it's like I remember we weren't even on the poster. Like Kevin was on the Clerks DVD and poster, but it was as himself, director Kevin Smith. It wasn't as Silent Bob.
Yeah.
And I would have never even thunk anything like that. And even after Mallrats, I sort of realized, like, oh, cool, people realize who the characters are, and maybe this is something I can do as a career. I could try to get other movies, because right after I got an offer to do a movie, Drawing Flies, which was an independent movie, but it was still a different role and it was another movie. But yeah, I had no idea, and it's really, really awesome to think that people still will listen to our podcast and still will want to wear a shirt with Jay and Bob on it. I mean, for me, even that, I mean, it's a perfect example. Like, for me it was so surreal to me that I have a action figure comic book and T-shirts and stuff, and people wear them and buy them and have a little J's on their nightstand. It's pretty amazing.
No doubt, man. No doubt. Now, I want to get real serious with you for 1 second here. You actually talked a little while ago there about your sober living guy that helps you out a little bit. You've struggled with some serious substance abuse issues during your filming of Mallrats, and for quite a few years afterwards as well. In fact, that's why we didn't see you in the movie Jersey Girl. You kicked some pretty serious demons back in 2006. Now, we have quite a few people up here in Prince George that are dealing with the same kind of issues. We have some substance abuse problems up in this area. Do you have any advice for somebody listening right now that might be struggling with the same sort of thing? What's the first step into getting yourself some help and making it all better?
I mean, I definitely, if I'm going to be, I would say the big help for me is definitely surrounding myself with people that, even if they're not sober and in the program and stuff, people that understand and know what you're going through in a sense. Because, like, to me, it's like even my friends who are like normal people, they would be like, hey, we're going out for a drink, but some people just don't get your problem, and they'll be like, oh, dude, you haven't drank in 2 years, and I'm like, yeah, I can't. And they'll be like, oh, you can have one drink.
Yeah.
So, like, I sort of stopped hanging out with people and surrounding myself with those people. Like, I surround myself with people who understand and all that don't do drugs. Maybe smoke a little weed, drink occasionally, that's fine. And just, I would say, go to meetings and sort of admit. I definitely say admitting to yourself. I mean, it definitely took few years for me to admit that, like, okay, for a while I was like, okay, I know I can admit that I'm hooked on painkillers, but I'm not an alcoholic. I can drink.
Yeah.
You know, and it took years for that. That even weed, it's like I don't think anything's wrong with weed, and I can probably smoke weed and not want to do anything, but I know in my head, in my mindset, that I had to stop everything. I just can't do it. I can't do anything. I have to sort of focus on not anything mind-altering and just sort of surround myself with good people and try to watch happy things. I seriously would watch, like, when I was feeling I want to use and stuff, I'll watch silly like happy movies that I like. I have a few movies that I watch over and over again, and they cheer me up a little bit, and it sounds goofy, but it's true. Or listen to a podcast or a book or something that you think, just keep your mind off of it, because the thing is if you want to get high, I realize too, is like, even if you crave like wanting to get high and you've been sober for 2 weeks or a week or whatever, and you want to go use really bad, if you distract yourself, that sort of goes away after a few minutes. It might come back an hour later, but I just think you tell somebody, talk about it, be like, hey man, I have 2 weeks sober and I really want to go get high right now. Don't hide it, because I hid it for a while too, and I didn't have anyone to say, hey, I'm going to go down to the corner and score right now. But if I told somebody, they'd be like, okay, I'm going to spend the next 3 hours with you. I have to do something, but I'll hang out with you as long as I can and try to keep you on the right track for the next few hours. So I think that's a big, big thing, really, is trying to surround yourself with people who understand and care about you, and you can talk to and not keep anything from, being honest about everything.
Support and understanding, really the bottom line on it then, basically, eh?
Yeah. No, for sure.
Hey, man, it's a hell of a journey getting back to sobriety. I've seen it a few times with a very few close friends of mine, and I wish you all the best on yours as well. Your story is a hell of a great one, getting to where you are today and being successful. So, congrats. Let me say that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Now, taking a look at your IMDb profile, your Internet Movie Database profile here yesterday, I see you're involved in a ton of upcoming projects. Can you give us a little preview of what we can see in over the next couple years here?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's been some good movies I've gotten to do, and I've been psyched about, because they've been different characters and roles. And one of the latest ones I just finished was a movie called Noobs. And it's about 4 guys who play video games, Gears of War, and they all have jobs they hate, and they're like, okay, we're going to go to this big tournament, because if we go to this tournament and win, there's the first prize is like $500,000, not to mention, sponsorships and stuff. So, and then of course on the way there's a journey with meeting each other and girl and this and that. But that was an awesome movie, comedy, and then I also did a movie called K11 that they're working on right now, getting it finished, touched up, and that's by a woman named Jules Stewart. It's her first script, but it's called K11. It's a movie based on a section, a classification you get in the Los Angeles jail system, that if you're transgender or you're high profile or whatever, it's about a guy who gets sort of wrongfully accused and has to deal with it, and a bunch of stuff happens. It's a little bit of a dark drama.
Wow,
but it's definitely different. I get to play Ben Shapiro, one of the jailmates, one of the main jail guys who is dating the main girl and dealing dope, and all this stuff happens. D.B. Sweeney's in it, Tiny Lister.
Nice, yeah.
Some cool people are in it. And then also a movie, Zombie Hamlet, that I get to play an actor playing an actor who plays Shakespeare. And that's
wicked.
that's like a comedy. That's like sort of it's like a comedy drama. And it's pretty cool. I get to play, Shakespeare Hamlet, and then they run out of funds and all this stuff happens. So they're like, let's do zombies, and it's a really, really good. Shelley Long's in that.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
A lot of good people are in that. So that's just a few of the movies that I have coming up right now that I'm psyched about. So, and another movie I did, it's called The Last Godfather. Which was, I got to play Vinny the mobster, and I worked with Harvey Keitel and stuff. So that was awesome.
Wicked, one of my heroes. Yeah, wicked, man. Well, we're looking forward to seeing all those.
Sorry. Oh, sorry, and I don't want to forget. one of my favorite things I'm doing right now. Hopefully we do season 3. I did season 1 and 2 of Todd in the Book of Pure Evil, which is a TV show on Space and Comedy Network in Canada, and it's out on DVD, and season 1's out on DVD. Season 2's about to, they're airing it now. It's about to end, and we're just waiting to hear if we're going to do a season 3.
Wicked. And that's up here in Canada, you said?
Yeah, that's on the Space Channel and on the Comedy Network.
Oh, we're going to have to look for that, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely, and it should be on, like, I believe it's on iTunes, man. It's a good show, and not even because I'm in it. I get to play a cool character, but I'm like the guy in there, the guru, the mentor of the main character,
right.
And I'm in it like I'm in like every episode like 2 scenes for like 10 to 30 seconds. But the show itself is really entertaining, and like I like watching it just because of all the other cast members and the like the storylines. So. Definitely check that out if you can.
Absolutely. Now let's get down to the meat and potatoes here, too. Coming up on February the 2nd, 2012 at 6:30 here local time in Prince George, 9:30 Eastern. You guys are doing something pretty crazy. Now, I've never heard of anybody else ever pulling this off before, but you're going to be doing a show called Jay and Silent Bob Get Old. It's a podcast. Now, kind of explain how this is going to work.
So we're going to be doing we do our live podcast, Jay and Bob Get Old, and it's about an hour and a half, and we sit and we chat about us getting old, about doing the movies together, about meeting, about all these different things. The first time I've had, I was 18 when I had my first sex for the first time, and crapped my pants with this girl then a year later, and right when we woke up in bed together, and just different stories and all that. And then we play a game at the end called Let Us Act. We bring a couple audience members up, and they get to play. We do a scene either from Brokeback Mountain or Star Wars or Black Swan or what have you.
Yeah.
And that's been a lot of fun, and Kevin directs the scene, and people seem to dig it, and it's a lot of fun. And then after, we're going to do an hour Q&A, about an hour and a half Q&A, and people are going to be able to tweet in, and I'm really psyched because we're going to be in Toronto doing the show live, and people who can't make it to Toronto, of course, it's going to be streaming live through Canada and all of the U.S., like 360 theaters in the U.S. and something like 80 to 90 theaters in Canada.
Yeah, it's over 500 movie theaters. It's about 535 movie theaters overall, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, I think it's pretty awesome idea and different. So I'm really hoping it. I'm really psyched about the idea, the whole concept of it. So
for sure, you guys are doing a little bit of a tour with Jay and Silent Bob Get Old, and I see you've got about 6 sellouts already as well.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome because we did Canada, and before that we did like East Coast cities. And now we get to next month. We are going to, not even that. Yeah, I guess it's next month. The middle of next month, we go to London, Scotland, and Ireland.
Oh, wow.
And then we'll be back home doing a few places in the U.S. Like I think we're going to Fargo and another place. And then in April, we go to Australia, and we're doing like 5 different cities in Australia in April.
Wicked.
Yeah, so I'm really psyched about that because I had never been to those places. I've been to London, but none of the other places. And again, I have tons of fun. My wife gets to come with us to all these places. She works for the company.
Awesome.
She's a big part of this whole thing that we got going and setting it up and making things move along. Kevin, of course, my best friend, and his wife, and we're all close, and we all get to travel together, work together, put these shows on, and hopefully entertain people, and hopefully they walk away with a smile, which is my main goal.
Absolutely. Hey, man, if that's your main goal, you've been doing it successfully for over 20 years now. So there you go, guys. February 2nd, 2012. Head over to Famous Players right here in Prince George. 6:30 start time for that one. Bring your phones with you. Make sure that you're able to get onto Twitter because on the second half of the podcast, you're going to be able to send your questions off to Jason Mewes and off to our good buddy Kevin Smith as well. And they'll be answering a ton of those questions live during the show. This is something I've never seen done before, so if you want to be a part of movie history, make sure you check it out February 2nd at Famous Players right here in PG. Jay, thanks so much for taking some time with us today, man. This has been an unbelievable half hour. I know we only had 15 minutes. Tell your publicist I'm really sorry, but thanks again for spending time with us. This has been great.
All good. Thank you very much, man. I hope to see you there, and you have a good day.
You too. Thanks, brother.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.